There we go. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Fit Over 40. This is another episode of Coach's Corner, and I've got a real good one for you today. You'll be inspired. You may want to climb some higher peaks than you have in your life. I have Jen Drummond, and when I got the opportunity to even think about this, I read a little bit, and I was super inspired by her story because when I got into podcasting, I said, I want to tell good stories. I want someone to come on who can tell a story that inspires other people. And I think she's got quite the story. So I'm just going to shut up for a little bit and ask questions when relevant, as I normally do. Jen Drummond, thanks for coming on.
Oh my goodness. Thank you for having me today. Super excited to be here.
All right. So why don't you, I always tell people, go back in time and tell everybody how you got to where you are now.
Oh, yeah. I think it's a lot of little things that pivoted me to here. I think the big change in my life was when I got into a car accident in 2018. So I was driving on the highway, hit a semi. The cops rebuilt the accident about 50 different times. They could not build a scenario where I lived, let alone walked away. Pair that with a girlfriend going running on a trail a few weeks after my accident. She slipped, hit her head on a rock, and never came home. So I have these like two extreme things that happened. And I kind of came out of it thinking, I don't think we get to choose when we die, but we sure get to choose how we live.
That's
right.
Awesome.
And
absolutely.
Was I really living? I was kind of had my life on hold. I was a stay-at-home mom. My kids were in school. I didn't want to step into something because I was so afraid that I wasn't going to be there for them, which is silly, but that's what I believed. And so 2019 became the year of the bucket list. Who am I? What do I like? What do I want to do? What happens if this is my last year or decade of life? There was a lot of things on that list. Like, I want to eat pasta in Italy. I don't want to just like eat it from the, the box that you like make at home. And I made this huge list. And then 2020, I was turning 40 and I looked at my list. I'm like, hey, you know what? I'm going to climb a mountain for my 40th birthday because that's only something that's going to get harder when I get older. And that sounds like a really good way to launch my decade, right?
Absolutely.
So I asked some friends that were into mountaineering, if you could climb one mountain in the whole world, what would it be? The general consensus was a mountain named Ama de Blanc. If you've seen a Paramount Pictures movie, you've seen Ama de Blanc because it's the mountain in the logo that the stars all circle around. So I'm like, oh, perfect. I'll climb that mountain. That looks perfect. And if we remember the beginning of 2020, COVID entered the scene. And so none of us were traveling anywhere. And in fact, schools were closed. So I became a homeschool teacher to 7 beautiful children, which was an experience in and of itself. Well, one of my sons was struggling with his math homework. So I was trying to convince him, like, we do hard things. You've got this. And he looked at me and he goes, Mom, if we do hard things, why are you climbing a mountain called I'm a Dumb Blonde instead of a real mountain like Everest? Ama de Blanc, honey. Not I'm a dumb blonde, but that's cute. Thank you. So finish your homework. We'll look at Everest. So he did, and we did, and then he went to bed, and I was still looking at Everest. And I'm like, you know what? If he thinks Everest is the hardest mountain in the whole world, I'm going to climb it. And I'm going to let him know that whatever our Everest is, physical or metaphorical, we can climb it. So I called a coach. Coach is like, yeah, I can get you ready. No problem. And he sends me this book about becoming an uphill athlete. And in the front of the book, there was this lady who got a Guinness World Record for doing something in the Alps. All I remember is talking to my coach saying, I could have done that. Like, I can do hard things. And I am not having fun being a homeschool teacher. My kids might actually think I'm cool if I had a world record because they learned how to read on those books. My coach is like, all right, fine, I'll think of something. Okay. So he called me back a few weeks later and he's like, Jen, I have the perfect world record. I think you should be the first female to climb the 7-second summits. I'm like, I don't even know what those are. And it sounds like a tongue twister. And he goes, listen, he goes, it is the second highest point on each of the 7 continents. It's only been done by one male. It's harder than the first 7. You'd be the first woman. Think about it. 7 continents, 7 mountains, 7 children. It sounds like a jackpot. Kind of did sound like a jackpot. So I looked at it. I said, why not? What else am I here for? Let's do this crazy thing. I've never slept in a tent before, but we'll figure it out. So that's how that started. Like crazy town.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
how did you balance being a mom of 7 and you have to train for this? How did you do it?
Yes. It was not pretty. Okay. So I had friends that I met at Everest and they would be like, oh yeah, I did this 6-hour hike, or I did this, that, and the other thing. I'm like, who's 6 hours to put together to do a hike? Are you kidding me right now? So my training would look like getting up early, working out a little bit before the kids got up, getting the kids to school, maybe getting a little bit of a hike in outdoors. Once they played sports. So if somebody had a soccer game, I would go to the soccer game. I'd bring a 12-inch step to the side of the practice. I'd have a backpack full of water bottles, and I'd be doing step ups for an hour and a half of that soccer thing so that I could watch him play and still get my workout in. And yeah, so I mean, I squeezed workouts in anywhere I could and then tried to include my kids where I could and just made it happen.
You mentioned you walked away from that accident. Were you physically harmed during that accident, or was it just complete luck? You walked away without a scratch.
So we thought I was totally okay. What rating is this podcast?
What do you mean?
G?
Like, no,
Like
you,
PG-13?
no, you can
Okay.
say what
So,
you can say whatever you
okay.
want.
So got it. So we thought I walked away from the car crash with like nothing wrong.
Yeah.
And then I kept spiking a fever. So I had to go back to the hospital and they'd send me home. I go back to the hospital, they send me home. By the third time, we realized that the seatbelt must have ruptured one of my breast implants.
Ooh.
And so it was like starting to deteriorate inside because I had like these gummy bear style. So like the joke is I walked away with a new lease on life, a new car, and new boobs. Like what more does a girl want? There you go.
I love it. Okay, so obviously that's a traumatic experience. How do you parlay that into some of the lessons that you're teaching? And we'll get into, you got a book coming out and some other stuff, and you're a speaker and you have your own podcast and whatnot. So how do you parlay that into messages you put out?
Yeah, I think the big message is we don't get to choose when we die, right? We get to choose how we live. And are the choices we're making every day living? Or are we imposing some kind of limitation on ourselves? Right? Like I had limitations that I keep trying to break through. And I think all of us are trying to break through limitations. Is that the truth? Or is that just like keeps us safe? Like, could I really not do something because my kids were in school all day? No. It was just like the easy thing to do. And sometimes we hit plateaus, and not all plateaus are bad, right? Like sometimes we need to just recharge the batteries and allow not to be pursuing something. But when that becomes our way of life instead of living, we should make some changes.
Gotcha. When you were on that first summit, did the thought of quitting and going, what the hell am I doing, go through your mind? Like I could be doing anything else in life besides being up a mountain.
I know. I'll tell you, so my first climb was Ama de Blanc, and I got violently sick on one of our climatization rotations, like terribly sick. It was so gross. And I just remember saying, like, I paid for this. I paid money to be sleeping in a tent, puking outside of it, freezing cold. And I'm here for another 2 weeks. I could have gone to the beach. I could have done like 1,000 things. And this is what I picked. Like, what is wrong with my head? But then you like get to the top of the mountain and you're like, oh my gosh, this is the most amazing thing that's ever happened. It's kind of like, for all the women listening, like having a baby, right? Like the pregnancy is not always your favorite time, right? Like you have heartburn, your stomach hurts, like nothing digests right, all those different things. The labor is horrible, horrible. And then all of a sudden you have this little thing that cries and you're like, oh my goodness, like how is life so amazing? And then, a few months go by and you're like, I think we should have another one. I don't remember any of those terrible things.
Wow.
So there you go.
So then you said, okay, I got to do 6 more of these. And how long did you train in between each mountain? Or was it like, hey, I'm in peak shape, I'm just going to go right now?
Yeah, you just keep it rolling. Like, you're just like, "Hey, I do not wanna lose this fitness and have to gain it back. Like, I'm just gonna maintain this thing and keep it running." And so it took me 2.5 years to do all the mountains. Ama de Blanc and Everest for 2 bonus, and then I did climb some other stuff in Ecuador and Bolivia just to stay conditioned, because you can get pretty high in South America.
Mhm.
And then some of the mountains took twice. So K2 and Mount Logan took 2 attempts because the weather and different things didn't cooperate with us. Um, yeah, so it is nice because your fitness goes from one mountain to the next mountain to the next mountain, which definitely helps.
Mhm.
But let's put it this way. I have been home since June 1st when I finished the world record this year. I haven't climbed any mountains yet.
Yeah.
Like,
You
I've
haven't
taken
thought
a
about
little bit
going
of a break.
hiking?
Well, I've gone a little bit hiking. I'm going to take my boys, the 3 oldest, to Kilimanjaro in February. So we're going to climb that together, because they're interested and it's a good starter climb for them. But yeah, I haven't been like super eager to get back out there. And I'm like, everybody keeps asking, what's next? What's next? I'm like, the 7 nicest beaches in the world sounds pretty darn
Right.
cool right now.
I'll be signing up for that program. So
Yeah,
like
definitely.
when you see people, little weekend warriors, and you see them talking about hiking the local mountains in their area, are you just like, ah, that's child's play. I don't want to join
Yeah,
that group.
but like, I'm just happy that people are getting out,
Yeah,
right? Like, it's very rare that you have somebody come back from a hike grouchy. You have a lot of
that's
people
true.
going out for a hike a little grouchy, right?
That's
So
true. That's
for
me
me,
because I
anytime
hike in
I
the
see
morning.
somebody else, right, right. Anytime I see somebody going outside, I'm like, "Woohoo, make it happen." I'm a big fan.
Uh, so here's a question. You're hiking, you're up a mountain somewhere. Who is dealing with your children back home? Like, do you have
Oh,
what's
those
the
poor
support
people.
system?
I have an amazing support system. I talk about it in my book, actually. So my book is titled Break Proof:
Yeah.
7 Strategies to Build Resilience and Achieve Your Life Goals. And one of the big key takeaways from that book is big mountains take big teams. Okay. So
Yes.
if you're going to have an Everest like goal in your life, you're going to need a big team to make that happen. So for me to climb Everest, I have a team at home taking care of the kids and the animals. I have like technology taking care of bill pay. I'm on the mountain. You have people that are taking care of gear and ropes and food and tents and all. There's so much that goes into these things. And I think we sometimes think like more of this is a solo sport than what it is. There
Yeah.
are no solo sports if you're doing something huge.
Yeah. I love that team concept. Um, so what kind of did you get any new sponsorships? Are you doing anything different now that you made this hike? What bigger interview besides my show have you been on? Like
Yeah.
you've probably been on
I was on the
TV.
Today Show.
Yeah, I
So that was kind
imagine.
of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Today Show, KTLA, a lot of different things. I did not take any sponsorships on the climbs. I probably should have, but I just didn't. I know my personality and I didn't
Mhm.
want to have to report to somebody and say I wanted to turn around and have that be questioned. So
Yeah.
I wanted everything to be in my wheelhouse of me deciding what's best for me, not feeling like I owe a sponsor something. Um, I do work with Mountain America Credit Union. It's a credit union that serves like Utah, Arizona, different states around here. I partner with them just because it's a brand match. And we started the partnership after the climbs. So I felt
Mhm.
good about that. But yeah.
Okay. Well, you mentioned team. So when you're up going up to these mountains, you have a spotter, I guess, for lack of a better way of saying it. Someone who's been there. And what is the role of the spotter? Is that person like checking the weather? Like, hey, we might have to take a break. We might have to rest longer. What is your spotter doing up there?
Yeah. So you have Sherpa, typically is what they call them on the mountains.
Sherpa.
Same type of role, Sherpa. And like it is so dialed in nowadays. Like back when we do some of the remote mountains, we are checking Garmin's and weather devices and we're making all the decisions ourselves. But when we're climbing big mountains like Everest, they're giving us weather reports. The person that I'm climbing with has climbed it before. They're going to know the secrets. Like, hey, you might be hot right now. When we turn this corner, we're going to be exposed to wind. So put on another layer before you get cold. They have all that. That's the beauty of a mentor, right? A
Hmm.
mentor knows the path. They know what to look out for, what to keep your head on for, and how to prepare. And so whether you're climbing a mountain or building a business or taking on something that you don't have a lot of experience in, those mentors type Sherpas make a huge difference.
Yeah. Well, you seem like you're an achiever, an overachiever in some cases. For most folks, it doesn't. You might get those 7 beaches, but what are you going to do after that? What's next for
Yeah.
you?
Right. So I am kind of holding out on deciding what I'm going to do exactly because I'm a quick start and a hard stop.
Okay.
So if I say I'm going to do something, like it's going to be a lot of things to have me not do it,
Uh,
which makes me more conscientious of what I'm going to pick up. Some people have proposed a few different fun ideas my way. I'm definitely entertaining them, but I'm like, I'm waiting a year. So I'm going
mhm,
to take the boys for a climb. I'm going to get this book out, continue my public speaking, and then hopefully have something fun to announce next summer.
mhm. So when you public speak, what is the basic topic? Is it kind of like the same premise of the book when you're talking publicly, or do you have a
Yeah,
theme?
yeah. It kind of depends. Um, One of the speeches that I just did was "We do hard things," as a company has some massive growth initiatives that they're trying to take on. So making sure that, how did I get through hard times in my climbs, and is there words that they can use to help them with theirs? And then I also just take people on different adventures depending on what they're interested in. A lot of resilience, a lot of persistence, a lot of sales type talk, leadership, teamwork,
Mhm,
just different concepts depending on what they're trying to hit home on.
mhm. So I'm sure people listening are curious. What type of workouts did you do? You obviously aren't doing a bodybuilder type of workout. What kind of training did you do for this?
Yeah, you do not want a big body because the less of
See,
your, I mean,
that
you
that's
need
why I can't do it right there. Thank
You're
you.
out. You're out. I'm
I'm out.
sorry. Because the bigger your body, the more oxygen it takes,
Absolutely.
right? And when you're at these higher environments, there's just not enough oxygen. So it actually favors you to be tiny. Like Sherpa are tiny people. I'm a
Yeah.
big person compared to a Sherpa, and I'm like 5'5", 115 pounds. That's not a big human,
Right.
right? So you are definitely like you're doing a lot of core work because if your core is strong, then you're making strong steps. You can adjust easier to what's going on. You're doing a lot of ankle strengthening work.
Mm.
You want your back strong because you're carrying a pack. And then just
How
a lot
heavy
of
is that
cardio.
pack? How heavy is your
Depends.
pack?
Like,
Yeah.
yeah. So on some of the expeditions, it can be, for me, it can be about 40 to 50 pounds. Anything more than that, I'll fall over.
Mhm.
But as you get higher up the mountain, stuff gets lighter. You don't need to take as much, but you're probably like always about 20 pounds.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
That's
It's,
interesting.
it counts. It shows up.
Now I was looking at some of those videos and I saw some tents like blowing in the wind. Are you at that point going, what the hell?
Oh my gosh.
You-
And when you're in the tent, it is the worst sound ever. It's like this loose fabric and then it pulls tight and then it's loose fabric and then it pulls tight. And you sit there and you think like, if this tent rips, I'm dead. Like there's like this little teeny tiny piece of fabric that I can basically see through is what's keeping me alive right now. Why did I think this was a good idea? Like there's a lot of what was I thinking I
Right.
moments. And I
Right.
think that's on any mountain we're climbing, physical or metaphorical. Like we start a new business. Why did I want to start a new business? Like what was I trying to do? Just crazy.
Exactly. What was the lowest temperature you were dealt with?
Oh man, we were negative 65 Fahrenheit and then even colder with wind chill. And you could not have any skin show or it'd be frostbite right
Wow.
away. And you're in so many layers that you look like the Michelin man. Like you can barely move your arms. You're just like, okay, we're moving. But yeah, a lot of times when it's really that cold, you don't move. You just stay in your tent and try to stay warm and stay ahead of things.
What about nutrition? Obviously, you said you can't be a big person. I would imagine you can't eat a lot because that would make, slow things down with the digestion process.
Yeah. Right. You have to be very careful what you eat. Like, so proteins and fats are harder to digest the higher up the mountain you are.
Mm,
So you're definitely going for like simple sugars. I'm a big gummy bear eater. I know that sounds crazy, but I'll eat gummy bears. I mean, you will eat a Snickers bar here or there. You're eating like just things that are easy for your body to digest, like
sure.
baked potatoes. So we'll bring up like baked potatoes and eat a baked potato because that's like basically all starch.
Yeah. I'll go. Yeah, for sure. That's fascinating. There's a lot that goes
Yeah.
into it. So the book is coming out. When's your book coming out?
My book comes out January 9. And it's in pre-sales right now. So people pre-order, there's a bunch of free bonuses and fun things that go with it. But yeah, that was a mountain in and of itself.
How'd you
I have a
find the time to
friend that I
do
went
all
out
that?
to, I know,
You
cause I got mount at, right. So I had a friend that I went out to lunch with like halfway through the pursuit. And I said, he's like, you need to write a book. This is fascinating. I don't even like mountaineering and I'm so interested. Well, he was an author. Okay. So him
Mhm.
writing a book is natural. Me writing a book is like a wrestling match. Okay. Words don't just flow through my brain easily onto paper. So it was a huge challenge, but I'm glad it's done. Yeah. So it comes out January 9th.
All right. Are you going to go on speaking tour associated with the book?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's already kind of started, talking about different chapters and different things. So it's exciting. It's fun.
So we know you're an author. Now, what do you do now? Besides, did you do private coaching for people like that, or do you coach businesses? What do you do?
A, B, and C. So I own a
ABC.
company as well. So I have a company that's in financial services and we work with individuals to help plan for retirements and things like that. So
Okay.
I've kind of hired myself out of a job there, but I'm still involved in the bookkeeping and just behind the scene type stuff. And
Hmm.
then I work with individuals. I've ran some retreats and different things like that.
So if someone is watching this or listening to it, and they go, "I'm going to do it," could they hire you to consult them?
Yes, 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 yes,
Okay,
yes.
I
And
figured that was somewhere
I
in
live
there.
in, yeah, I live in Park City. And so like sometimes corporations will come out here to do like their, employee training. And then sometimes they'll hire me to come give a speech. Sometimes they'll hire me to take some of their executives on a hike. Sometimes they'll hire me to do different, like our snowshoe walk or different things at different times of the year. It's just, I love helping people,
I
right? Like I
love
love
that.
connecting to people and hearing where they're stuck or what's going on and just sharing stories to see if we can help one another.
Yeah, I was going to ask you because it appears that you have a jacket on. I'm like, where are you at right now? Because I'm in
Yes, I do have a
Arizona.
jacket on. Where are you right now?
I'm in Arizona, and it's 90
Oh
degrees, but
yeah,
I
I'm
always wear
not in
hoodies.
Arizona.
Okay.
I am in Park City, Utah, and it's snowing. And I
Ah,
swear to God, my house is freezing right now. And I have like, yeah, so I
do you
put a
tell the
jacket on.
kids, "Oh, this is nothing. I was in negative 65. Tough it up." It
I
would be
know, but for
hard to.
some reason on the mount, yeah, when you're in Antarctica, you expect to be cold. When you're in your house, you don't expect to be cold. So it's a different kind of cold.
Yeah. Did you run into any wild animals while you were up there?
No, that's kind of one of the benefits of climbing, which is why I like alpine climbing. I don't like bugs. I don't like spiders. I don't like snakes. I don't like, anything that flies that can sting. And so when you get higher altitudes, they don't survive. There's not enough oxygen in the air for those things to be around.
Wish we could
So it
figure
actually
something
works
out
out really
locally.
well.
That would just be great. We can figure
Oh, it's a
something out like
magic.
that.
Yes, right? Freeze them off. Freeze them off.
That's good to know because here we have mosquitoes and flies and stuff like that. So it's cold now, so they're getting ready to go away, which I'm looking forward to. So
Yes.
now that you've done that, when you finish doing those 7 summits, did you just turn off your phone, shut the blinds, take a big power nap, and go, "Now what's next?" Or did you just right back to it?
Yeah, so when I was done with the climb, right? Like you still have to climb down and it takes you a while to get back into civilization and things like that. I actually thought it was going to take, we budgeted more time than what it actually took. So
Okay.
we thought it was going to take an extra week and like weather favored us. So we got done a week early. And my last climb was in Canada, Mount
Mhm.
Logan. So I flew to Vancouver and just spent a couple days because I knew once I got back to the US, it was going to be full on again, right? Kids were going to be out of school. Everything was going to be busy. So I did a little powwow recharge before I came back. And I'll be honest, like I was depressed for a few weeks, like weeks or months this summer because you had this pursuit that you were chasing and working towards. And like it was all the thing. I mean, all my extra energy was put into that thing. And now all of a sudden it was done. I
Yeah.
was like, oh my gosh, what do I do? Or where should I be putting my energy? Or you go to the gym and it's like, I don't even know what to do. Like before it was like, I had my plan. And I was like working it out and I got there. I'm like, I can do anything I want. And so I'm not going to do anything, I guess. And so then like I'd walk home, right? It was crazy. So I I told myself I'd take a year off of doing anything big and then reevaluate. And I'm getting better at becoming a human being. I'm definitely easier to be a human doing than a human
Mhm.
being, but
I
this
like
being
that.
stage is important. So I'm trying it.
So here it may sound like a weird question, but I have tons of estheticians and people who do skincare. You had a little glow. How do you prepare to be that close to the sun? Because you're a lot higher than us down on the ground. And you had a couple of times I noticed the tan. You probably had glasses on, and you still have the tan, by the way. I'm sure
Yeah.
your girlfriends, you're like, go hike the mountain, you can get this.
Yes.
So, did
Yes.
you have to wear like a certain heavier duty or sunblock or something, or did you just cover your face all the way?
You do cover like you do all of it, right? Because not only are you worried about the sun, the wind. When you start
Oh,
getting high and exposed, you have pretty big winds, and that wind is just not fair to your face by any
mm,
means. So
yeah.
a lot of times you're pretty covered. I'm always wearing a 50 SPF, and I am definitely, before the Barbie movie even came out, I am definitely Mountain Barbie. And I was fine with it. And I had every cream known to man that I was like, because I'm like, listen, I have to live with this face the rest of my life. And I don't need this all like weathered. No one wants a weathered face.
Mhm.
So I was definitely a little bit of a diva on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I noticed those weird things. I'm like, I gotta ask her about the tan, you know. Uh,
Yeah.
so I'm thinking now, you've done something pretty remarkable. I mean, other than leaving Earth would be the next highest thing I would imagine, or flying by yourself with, you come up with something like that. Is it hard for you to get motivated at this point? Because I would say by most people's standards, you're pretty successful. You raised some great kids, you hike, you got a successful business. What motivates you now at this point? I mean, a lot of people go celebrate, like you say, go to the beaches and chill. What motivates you to keep going? I know you said helping people, but there's a deeper thing that gets you up out of bed.
Yeah. I think it's really easy to do extraordinary things and have extraordinary experiences. The challenge becomes doing ordinary things and turning them extraordinary.
Mm,
And so I really like to focus on how simple can I find extraordinary? And when you
mm,
really just like you face a life or death situation like I did in the car accident and a couple times on the mountains, and you go for a walk, and there's so much beauty to nature and like how everything works. And I mean, even I was flying home the other day and I was grouchy because I got the center seat on the airplane. Like, okay, one, I'm probably the smallest person in this row, so I should have the center seat. Two, I'm being served a soda in the air, flying for an hour, which would normally take me 12 hours to do this drive, and I'm complaining. Like, I just think we get so forget like how crazy cool these experiences are if you really get to like the basics of them.
yeah.
And so for me, I try to really get to the basics of things and live from that place of gratitude and try to figure out that extraordinary in the ordinary.
Mm. So, in my profession, I coach men and women over 40. 90% of my clients are female. Let me give you a general scenario. Maybe recently divorced or single or widowed, which is very common a lot these days. They know they need to do something, but they think big picture, which I think a lot of people who decide to do something, whatever it's a business or fitness or whatever it is in life, even go out dating, they think this big picture. They're seeing the marriage and I'm now engaged again or now have a boyfriend instead of one day at a time. So what would you tell somebody who's looking at you going, I'm really inspired, but I don't know if I want to climb a mountain, you know? What would you say to somebody just to get them that first step sometimes? Like in order for you to hike this mountain, you had to take a step,
Yeah.
among
Yeah.
many. What would
Right.
you say to
When we go through
someone?
these, yeah, I mean, when you go through these huge life changes, right? Like you said, divorced or widowed or breakup or whatever. I think the biggest thing is getting back to ourselves first and remembering who we are. Like when I got out of the car accident, I bought a pack of markers and I started coloring in my journal every day with the markers when I would write in it. And I was like, oh, I don't want to write with red. I feel like I'm correcting myself. I don't want to write with yellow. I can't ever see what I wrote. Like, and like, you just have these different feelings associated with different colors, and just really getting back into what is it that you want? Who are you as a person? Like, I like to write in purple. I actually like, like I didn't know what restaurants I like to eat at because I was so used to eating leftovers with my kids, and starting to get particular. I like my coffee this way. I like this way. I don't need to be easy. I don't need to be accommodating. I need to be me. And once you start leaning into these little things that make you you, you start having this confidence to try other things. And like, maybe I want to go hiking or go to yoga or go to Pilates or go whatever. And it's not like you have to commit that you're going to become a yoga instructor. Just go and check it out and see if you like that type of yoga. And if you don't, now you know, and now you can use your energy towards something else. But just getting to that curiosity standpoint and allowing that to lead your decisions. I wanted to be a pilot once because I rode on a private plane to go shopping. And I thought it
Mhm.
was the most magical experience in my entire life. Like, oh my gosh, TSA like doesn't even exist. We
That's
showed
it.
up, we got on the plane, and here we were. Like, are you kidding me? So I came home from that shopping trip and I like called my local FAA and I'm like, I want a pilot instructor so I can learn to get my pilot's license and I can fly my own plane. So I like hired this instructor. I start going to flight classes. I actually hated it because the entire time you're in the plane, you're scanning the ground below you so that if something went wrong, where would you land this plane? And then you're looking at all the gauges in the plane to say like,
Right.
okay, now is everybody doing what they're supposed to be doing? Okay,
Yep.
everybody's working. Here's what I would land. Oh, look at it's pretty. Everybody's working. Here's where I would land. Like in that, like for 95% of your flight, you're hoping something doesn't go wrong and you're preparing for it if it does. For
That's correct.
5%, you're enjoying it. I would come home to my family. Everything would be fine. I'd be like scanning the environment for trouble. No one needs that person in their house as a mother. Okay. Like there's enough crap that goes wrong without me scanning the environment to make it like check. So I'm like, oh, but I can't quit something. Like I said, I was going to do this. So then I'm like, okay, I'm just going to keep going. So I keep going. And then it's finally time to take this exam. And the teacher's like, you need to call your insurance company because your insurance is going to change when you're a private pilot. So I
Absolutely.
called my insurance company. I'm like, hey, I'm going to go get my pilot's license today. I want to let you know. And then they read me back my premium. I'm like, no, I'm not buying a house. I'm just getting my license. And then like, they're like, well, this is what like you're high risk, blah, blah, blah,
High
blah, blah. And
risk.
I'm like, okay, this is all I needed to know. I hung up the phone. I called my flight instructor. I'm like, I'm done. Like, this was really fun. I really appreciate the thing. It's not working like I wanted. And I was okay with it because I knew, right? It wasn't that I couldn't finish it. It was like, once I got onto the path, I realized I didn't want to finish it. And again, my idea was, when I came home from that shopping trip and I'm singing Kokomo and Aruba, Jamaica, ooh, I want to take you. And I'm thinking of like Tahiti, like all these wonderful places. I took my kids on one flight with me with my instructor. They wanted to know where the TV was, why there wasn't a bathroom, and they swat each other the entire time we were trying to fly this plane. I'm like, this isn't what I envisioned. This is not how I thought this was going to go. And so I walked away. And that's okay. Like knowing what you're not allows you to lean into what you are.
I love that. Absolutely. Yep. Well, here's the better, you could just get a plane and then be chauffeured everywhere. You can have that experience everywhere you want to go. you know.
I know I
Uh,
need to work on that income level to support that. So I agree.
oh wow. So this is just fascinating. I could talk to you forever. Like you're very inspiring. What's okay, let's shift a little bit. We're in a world which is very negative for a lot of people. There's a lot of, it's easy to, let me say it this way, it's easy to slide into a negative space, whether it's politics, wars, social problems. How do you stay positive? Because I'll be honest with you, I interview a lot of people, and even when the camera's off and we're talking, they're always complaining about something. Even the guests, man, Clarence, I had to do it. And I'm like, every time, and I've stalked you legally because you could do that on social media without your person knowing. You're always, but I don't think you even wrote anything negative. I haven't went that far back. Maybe you did at some point. How do you stay so positive and inspiring?
Yeah, I think it's funny that you say that. So the car accident happens, right? And then of course I have 5 boys. So I get a call from the police office or the principal's office. And the principal wants to tell me that one of my boys is being a monkey in the classroom and not, helping. I'm like, okay, sounds good. Thank you so much. And the principal is like, it's kind of expecting a little bit different reaction. Said, yeah, I am mad. He is not behaving, and I am sorry for that. But I am so grateful I'm here to take this phone call, because had my accident gone a different way 3 weeks ago, this moment wouldn't be mine. And so for me, life is, I mean, there is so many ups and downs and sideways and all these things, but I'd rather experience them than not.
Mm-hmm. Very
And
fascinating.
you truly get to this point where life is a gift, and I have a choice in how I respond to things. And there's some horrible things going on in the world, but I'm in this corner of the world. All I can do is impact the people around me, and maybe they keep making that ripple out, but I
Yeah.
don't have a lot of impact on what's going on over there right now. So I have to just stay in my lane and do what I can from here, and hope that exponentially, that eventually it makes a ripple effect over there.
Yeah. When you were on the mountain, you're in your head. And I tell people if they run long distance or they're doing anything that takes more than 20, 30 minutes, you're in your head. What are the thoughts in your head while you're on this mountain? Besides, what the hell am I doing? What are the other
Yeah, no,
thoughts?
what the hell am I doing is a very big
It's a,
thought. Like,
it's
stupid, 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 stupid. Only stupid, white, rich girls do this dumb shit. Okay. Like, that's the bottom line. Like, literally, that's what runs through my head. Give somebody privilege and watch them blow it up. And here I am doing the same thing. So that is a loud thing that I have to tone down. And then once I can get that under control, I just like look at the world. And so you're climbing Everest, and you see these views, right? Like when you get to the top of Everest, you look out, there is mountain after mountain after mountain. I want you to think of yourself in an ocean, and you can't see the shore, and all you see is waves for as far as you can see. You see mountains, for like it's a sea of mountains. It's amazing.
yeah,
And you look at these people that we don't speak the same language. We're from all different parts of the world. We come together to do this one pursuit. And it's amazing how much communication you can have without words.
yeah,
And so you just sit there, and it's just magical at how all these things like randomly align and come together and make it work. And you kind of just sit in awe, like, this is life. Like, this is
mhm.
living. This is how it works. Okay, cool. Let's keep going.
So my last question for you is, you have now done this, so you've elevated yourself in society. Forever, you're in the history books as the first. Maybe
Yeah.
someone will come along if they make more mountains or something. Your kids have now moved up because, hey, your mom is that lady who did this. How have they responded to all this fame and mom's on channel, the big local news and whatever? She's famous. You got a lot of followers too, so you're popular.
Yeah. You know what's cool is they, I mean, they think it's fun, right? They like going places, and people are like, oh, you're the blah, blah, blah person. And then a lot of people ask my kids, like, what do you think? And my kids are like, well, I'm going to climb Everest someday, or I'm going to do this someday. Like, because I'm their mom and I've achieved something, there's not a hair of doubt in any of their minds that they could achieve it. Right? They see me drop the groceries in the garage because like I've tried to carry too many bags and the bags rip, right? Like they see me being human, and
Right.
they see me doing extra human type things, and they realize that's just the spectrum of being human and the experiences that you can have. And so failures aren't as big of a deal, and successes aren't as big of a deal. It's just where you are in that spectrum right now. And so I think it's been really fun for all of us.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, so tell everybody in the world where they can find you and they want to get coaching from you or they just want to be inspired by your story.
Yeah. Please. So jendrummond.com is my website. You'll be able to find the book there, some challenges, speaking, different things that I have going on. All my social channels are there. So find your channel of choice and reach out, say hello, connect. I love nothing more than connecting with people and hearing what you're up to and how I can encourage you on your pursuit.
Awesome. Very good. Well, thank you for coming to my neck of the woods and sharing your inspiring story. And I always appreciate a good story.
Well, thank you for having me.
All right. All right, everybody. Until next time, this is Fit Over 40 with Coach Clarence. And this is another episode of Coach's Corner. Very good. All right. That was